Alright. I'm going to paint some Napoleonic Marshals and Generals. These are some pretty good looking guys. Most of them are Old Glory. There's a couple of Perry in here. This guy's a pretty fancy Perry guy. I think this one's a Perry guy. Start with some faces, because I like to do the faces first. I'm going to start with some scale color basic flesh. And it's nice and dark. And I'm actually going to put this on, and then I'm going to put a quick wash on them. And then I'm going to do some eyes and some highlights. Have fun with these. So here we go. So let me just thin this out a little bit. Using a big old brush. And let's see, here we go. Get some paint on these guys. So that was weird. Oh. So I'm just going to slap this on pretty easy, rough and tumble. Make sure it's thin enough, but get it on the figures. Get the necks in between the collars. Wipe out the collars. And these guys have great eyes, so I'm probably, and especially these guys without the hats on, I'm going to do an extra special job of doing their eyes nice. I'll do that today. That'll be fun, getting the faces all done of these today. So, try not to obscure any detail. The detail on these Perrys is nice and fine. So, a couple quick coats on each should be fine. Not too worried about getting in the air, but I want to get a little bit because the wash will darken that up. And I was doing those pack mules the other couple days, and they are a little out of my wheelhouse. This is a little more my speed, these guys here. This is stuff I'm used to doing. So I should be able to be a little more efficient. Do some nice work. I need these for those figures I pasted up my friend Ed sold me. I knew I had these officers to paint up, so now they've got the figures that they need to command, I need to paint them up. So I'm not going to worry about the hands, especially these guys mostly have gloves on, but even the ones that don't have gloves, I'm going to do the hands after I do all the other work. It's easier to do that later. It's just the faces are inside, and I want to spend a lot of time doing some detail work on them, and if I have to do that around this book and the shoulders, I'm sure to get flesh paint everywhere I don't want it. So starting from the inside out of the figure, we'll give that a shot. Again, I don't care if I get paint everywhere here, as long as I get it where I want it. And sorry about seeing the back of my head, I had to mix the paint up. There we go. Doing these assembly line style, so you're going to see a lot of poses over and over. That's kind of the way I do it. I've got, as you can see on the table, I've got 8. Do 8 of these at a time, and I'll do 8 horses, and then I'll put them together. So I need a little bit more paint than that. Put the paint I'm using out so people can see. Of course, it doesn't want to stay. Oh, I guess I'll just do it that way. Here we go. I told myself I was going to break my wet palette out for this, and I got so excited about setting the stream up I didn't, but if I'm just doing faces, I probably don't need it. When I go to blend the uniforms, I'll break it out. that'll involve having a gradient on my palette and multiple passes. So I don't know about everybody else, but in the Northeast we are snowed in. So I work for a university that has curtailed operations. I got what I could done from home. But now that we're towards the end of the day, I'm gonna make hay while I can and get the pictures painted. This guy's got a little hair under his hat, and I'll go back and touch that up with a darker color in a bit. And there's also, this guy's sporting a pretty sexy beard, so he'll be fun to paint when I get to doing the hair. I'm going to thin my paint a little bit more, so a touch thick. And there we go. I picked over on my paper towel, I had a piece of junk and ended up on my brush, but there we go. And again, this is a big old base coating brush. It's a Army Painter Hobby base coater brush. It's pretty beat up, but again, I'm just getting the main color on, so it's fine. Pretty rough on my brushes, so I try to use the roughest one I got for the roughest jobs. So there we go. Perfect. I've got these guys zenithal primed and with my airbrush, and I'm hoping that's going to make doing the coats a little easier. Certainly makes seeing the detail easier. And putting these thin coats on, get a little pre-shading. Although I'm going to intentionally do all these, the shading on all these faces. And that paint on that guy is a little thin. I stir this up a little better. There we go. All right. And this guy's got a head like mine. Nice and bald on the top.
So there's a reason why I was popping off.
Yep. You want to tell the stream?
Sure.
All right.
This little doohickey came unscrewed.
Yeah. So you had to screw it back on.
Now,
It works. You know, honey, everybody needs a good screw.
true.
It's true. So that was Mrs. AJ's Wargaming. She's canning some turkey stock because she made turkey stock with leftover turkey bones. And it was giving her a little trouble. Her pressure canning system had a mechanical issue, but she figured it out. I took a look at it and it was beyond my skill set, so I had to defer her to the great God Google to find a solution for her. It's Thanksgiving weekend here in the States, so we put up our tree, put the lights on it. She's canning the stock. It is the beginning of the holiday season. There we go. So I'm just going to do a second pass on all of these guys. And this color, just to get good coverage. I want this nice dark tone. And that's fine. Like that a lot. So again, we're going assembly line style, do 8 at a time. And put the paint on and then make sure that none of these eye sockets get filled up. None of that paint is too thick. Looks fine. I'm happy with that. There we go. There's a lot of contour in this guy. He's got a pretty cool mouth. He's shouting out some orders. He's got a pretty mouth. You can see he's got his mouth open. He's yelling something to someone. This may be a good marshal to put a second adjutant, cavalry figure or something on, and use him as a CNC. I mean, they're all marshals, well, except the two Perry figures are generals. So these are the two Perry figures. The two right-hand ones are just infantry generals on horseback, or colonels rather. But the rest of these are marshals, and they're all capable of being, force commanders, army commanders, or they'd be wing commanders in a bigger battle if Napoleon was around, but they would also be very capable of leading a battle as the head commander. And every one of these personalities was sculpted to be a particular person, and I promptly took the little nameplate off the bottom of them, broke them off, and mixed them up. I don't recognize any of them by face. Probably someone who knows the French army a little better than me might. But even if I did recognize them, I don't know as if I would want to paint them as the exact person. I want them to be a little more generic so I can use them for a little bit everything. And at some point I may want to paint a Prince Poniatowski, the Polish general, because I want to do his corps in Napoleon's army, because they are very interesting soldiers to paint. And he would be a very charismatic, characteristic figure, because he wears very flamboyant, Polish-themed clothes. And they are colorful, lots of lace, and I think that'd be fun. And I actually think one of these guys, I don't also have, the other cavalry commander I might want to do is La Salle. He's pretty flamboyant too. I think he wore a big red jacket. At least I've seen a painting of him in one. And that would be fun because it would be distinct and different. And but for the most part, I'm happy with them just being good generic French generals. Lots of uses. There we go. And last one of the second pass. Too much paint on my brush here. A lot of these guys have like a neck scarf or something. This guy looks like he doesn't, so I'm going to make sure I get some flesh down in his neck. There we go. Alright, and I want to give these guys a little bit of flesh wash, and I want to do some highlighting on the faces, and I want to do some eyes, and I want to do that flesh wash before I paint the eyes, because once I put if I do the eyes and put the wash in, the eyes will be gone. I kind of want to let this tiny bit, of course, as soon as I clean my brush I found a spot that didn't quite go the way I wanted it to. There we go. That's better. And I think the answer to that is doing a different. Alright, looks like we had a little hiccup in the stream. Sorry about that. So, it's black on my palette. That black kind of exploded on me. I don't like that. I'm going to clean it off. And see where that's going. And clean my brush. I want to thin that black a little bit. I'm just going to do these boots real quick. I'll probably go back over them when I do the stirrups and so forth, but this just gives me something to do while I wait for that flesh tone to dry enough. I don't want to put a flesh wash over it. While the paint's wet, it'll just make mud. So I'll let that dry a little bit. I'll paint these boots. And they're easy. They're just black. I can use my big fat base coating brush and it'll be fine. I will probably eventually come back in here and work on it a little more, because I'm going to get some pant color on this for sure, but this will get me started. There we go. And that black is a little thick, so I'm going to thin it out. There we go. I'll go a little over here. The blue is going to have to go in that crack anyway, so. And there we go. I zoomed out a little further today. I found that when I was zoomed in a little too close, that I kept pulling the figure out of frame. I did anything with it. And on a good monitor, with a 1080p, you can probably just see fine the way it is now. So I'll find out next when I view the stream replay, or if someone lets me know if it's too far. I can always zoom in a little more for the next stream. So that's his boots. Black is still a little thick. I'm just going to keep thinning it until it gets where I want it. This sword case is also black, so while I'm here, I'll go ahead and make sure I hit that a little bit. And actually, the stirrups can be black. I haven't decided what the horse gear will be. I may leave the stirrups black, and then after I paint the horses, decide if I need to come back and paint the stirrup leather a different color. If I go with black horse furniture or tack, I don't know what they called it in Napoleonic times, but you know, straps and stuff. If I go with black, then I can leave it this way. And there we go. Again, that's an area that's going to get hit later, but it's fine for now. Kind of gives you an idea what it'll look like. So there we go. This guy's got a curved saber. I don't know if that was the way it was cast, if he has a cavalry sword, if he fancies himself a ex-light cavalry officer. I mean, they all would have cavalry swords, but I expect most of them to have the cuirass sword. But I'm going to pretend he was partial to the hussar sword and keep that curved. So don't expect he'd be fighting with it much as a marshal, so it's purely ceremonial. Don't mind the vacuum running upstairs. That's my wife cleaning up the pine needles, I imagine. We just finished decorating the tree, and I got excused from the cleanup to stream. Got released on good behavior. So, that's not terrible. Hey Chaos, thanks for stopping in. Appreciate it. How's your holiday? I asked that yesterday, but you had another day of it. Did you finish up your, or did you get some good progress on your RPG Maker stream? I stopped in and watched that a little bit last night. That looked like some good old school fun. These are French Napoleonic generals. So they're the people who would help Napoleon win his wars, and they will eventually, if I'm good, look like this guy. So let me stand up and put this in front of the camera so you can get a good picture of it. It's hard for me to see, but they'll eventually look like this guy. So Maybe not on a white horse. Not all generals had white horses, but that's what I'm going for is the good old, actually, you get a better focus out here, don't you? Napoleonic generals. They're pretty fancy pants guys, so they're going to be fun to paint. So that's what I'm working on. I've got 8 of them here. I'm doing them in assembly line style. And I just painted the first color of the flesh on the faces, and I'm waiting for that to dry. So what I'm doing now is painting their boots. The faces are, I'm gonna make them pretty fancy, so I want to put a couple coats of different colors of paint on them. So I'm letting that dry, and I'm going to put what's called a wash on them, which is a thinly pigmented thin paint, and it'll set in the cracks. And then when that dries, I'll do some painting over the top. So toy soldiers for my Napoleonic war games. Last stream you saw me, I was doing the pack mules, and actually, let me show you. I've got them here. One sec. Right back. You know, a professional streamer would have had these available, but these are the ones I was working on last stream that you saw, and they're all finished up and they're on their bases and they're ready to play. So I'll actually set these on the table here so I can refer to them. But that's what we were doing last stream when you popped in. And I started with them because they're kind of good generic figures. They can be used for a lot of different games, including my war games. These figures are definitely military. 1798-ish to 1815, and these guys are definitely on the 1815, 1813 side of things. They got the good fancy late uniforms. So, oh, perfect. Thank you so much. That would be a more appropriate place for me to post those announcements, so I appreciate that. So, for those of you who are watching this later, Chaos just offered to give me some access in her Discord to announce my streams. So, Chaos is a friend from my online gaming experience, which is the other thing I do when I'm not painting toy soldiers. So she has a great stream. You should go visit it. She does a variety of online games. She does Black Desert. She does MMO Creator, or sorry, or RPG Maker, which is a game creating system, which is kind of a maker thing, which is a lot closer to what we're doing here. And hey, Dragoon, thanks for stopping by. Dragoonity, I just followed. Appreciate that. I'm just talking about Chaos' stream, and she also does Cruel Seas. She's a very, very fun Cruel Seas watch. Doesn't take herself too serious and gets in a lot of shenanigans, I guess would be is that a fair thing to say, Chaos? Shenanigans? I think that's fair. Which is fun. It's a fun stream to watch. I watch it myself occasionally. So you might pop into my stream occasionally and see me auto-hosting her. I think she's on my auto-host list. So if not, she should be. Got to take care of that. So, Dragoon, how you been? How was your holiday? Did you leave the city or did you have Thanksgiving in the city? So Dragoon is from New York City. Or lives in New York City. I don't know if he's from there. Yeah, a whole bunch of shenanigans, Chaos says. Good. Well, I think that's some of the most fun stuff to watch is, stuff that isn't too serious. It's entertaining. If you're not having fun gaming, what are you doing? So... Dragoon says, I've been good. Left the city for Albany for a few days in Thanksgiving. Nice. I was in Albany in, late August, early September. I went up there to do a war game with a friend of mine who has a nice gamer bachelor pad there. He's got a great gaming table, and a dozen of us got together for a big war game. It was a nice drive. I drove up through Vermont and through the national park forest, state forest. I think in Vermont it's a state forest, and I think in New York it might be both. I think it's half state forest, and then you drive through a little bit of national forest. But yeah, it was beautiful. Albany's pretty. I I didn't even get lost, which is nice, thanks to the great God Google and Google Maps. It navigated me right to my friend's house. So, yeah, I would imagine going to Albany is a lot more affordable than your family coming in New York City. So. Oh, nice! Your little brother just got a brand new house, or his new house, right? That's an exciting time. I remember my first house. You gotta give him some support, some love. I'll tell you a secret. Every time someone I care for gets a house, I give them the most practical and unromantic housewarming gift ever. I buy them a high quality, nice kitchen fire extinguisher. Being a family that's was in the fire alarm business, and as a kid being a fire explorer scout, I have a real respect for kitchen fires and how dangerous they are. And people don't tend to buy that as their first thing on a new house. They've got other, more pressing priorities. So that's a good first gift. So I like my kitchen fire extinguisher away from the stove. So if you've got a closet or a hallway, something 2 steps away from the stove or more. So then when that thing flares up, you can get to it. Be surprised how many stories we hear of, if I'd only had a fire extinguisher, my house would still be here. So, for $50 to $75 these days, it's a great gift. If you're considering getting your brother a housewarming, that's what I would recommend. Not romantic, but it is certainly loving. So, preserving your family's life is about as loving as you can get. Yeah, I mean, you can get, there's extinguishers at Walmart that will do the job for $30, but a really good one, like a Kitty or a decent one, is under $100. And considering the other things you might get them for a housewarming gift, that's, ideally, you're only ever going to get a family member a housewarming gift once. After their first house, they've got all the things they need, and then it's, you're buying them some flowers or a knickknack or something. The first one, you got to go go big on the first one. It's a big deal. Getting your first house that's a hurdle. Giant hurdle. It's not, once you get your first house, it's easy to keep one. Your aunt got on me about the carbon monoxide detector. Yeah. Those things are, you don't think you need them until you need them, and when you find out you need them, it's too late because you're dead. So, yeah, I kept mentioning to you about the beeping, the fire extinguisher. Now you know the story why I was always asking about your smoke detector. Because like I said, my family's a software engineer, but everyone else in my family, my father and my brother both own fire detection companies. So, or have. My father's retired, my brother's no longer with us, but that's what our family businesses have always been. So, but yeah, I appreciate you guys stopping by, and I'm so new to this that just even getting to the average of 3 followers is a big deal, because I get that emote, and I'll be able to get a bunch of other tools that they enable once they know you're actually going to do this. And I'm doing enough streams. I just want to make sure I get the viewers. So appreciate you stopping by. And as long as you want to stay, that's great. And if you don't want to chat, that's fine. If you disappear into the ether AFK, I don't mind. Just appreciate that you stopped by at all. Fantastic. I'm surprised Dragoon doesn't stream, anime creation of some sort. I don't know what you do for a hobby other than gaming, Dragoon, but as into anime as you are, I figured that you would have the passion you've got, has got some kind of making ability. There's not much to do today, Chug, since it's snowing on the East Coast. Well, I know I'm north of you. We've got about 6 or 7 inches on the ground, and we're in the jackpot zone here on the coast of New Hampshire. So we're supposed to have, the original forecast was up to 28 inches, but I haven't looked at the forecast recently, but I think it's going to be down a tiny bit. But I'm expecting to have to snow blow near 2 feet in the morning, which is not fun at all. So they take care of it pretty good in the city, though. They don't really have a choice. They got to truck it out, right? The snow doesn't have to go home, but it can't stay there. So, and I'm wondering how much you can see here. I'm going to actually zoom in just a tiny bit because you guys are not quite seeing enough. Did that do anything? So sorry about getting you seasick. All right, that's enough of that. I'm just going to hold this up here and see how we're doing. Is this? Yeah, that's better. You can see now. That's better. Okay, so that is all. Oh, no, one more. I've got one more set of boots to do. Boots on the ground. Yeah, this is a phone, Dragoon. I've ordered some professional streaming gear. Well, I say professional, some good streaming gear. I don't know what professional streaming gear is. I'm sure it's tens of thousands of dollars. But I ordered a proper streaming camera, some proper streaming lights, you know, the hardware to mount it and all that, and, you know, arms and stuff. And that's going to improve things quite a bit. Yeah, right now, it's kind of ghetto. I've got a phone strapped to the light that lights my figure bench here. And I got a tablet beside me where I can read the chat. And I'd say it's about as bare bones as you can get. And, you know, unless you're live streaming walking down the street from your phone, the only thing I have that they don't is the extra tablet to read the chat. So it's, I just wanted to see if I wanted to do it. You know, I paint toy soldiers a lot. I spend a lot of time at this table, and I thought, well, I usually listen to a ball game or listen to a podcast or watch another streamer, but what if I streamed and talked to people instead? And yeah, I mean, I wanted to try it out. I didn't want to spend any money, and you know, who wants to spend $200 on streaming gear, do it twice, and go, well, this isn't anything I want to do. But people have been showing up and talking, and I've had a few, you know, strangers show up, people that aren't people I know from or friends and family. And oh, someone's calling us. So I should probably turn that ringer off down here when I'm streaming. So, probably some political person. We get a lot of those in New Hampshire, you know. I don't know if you get a lot of those in New York City, but in New Hampshire we got a lot of political callers. So, all right. Oh, Supercast. Yeah, I do have some questions, and I'll instead of asking here over the chat, over the stream, at some point I'll come over to your Discord and have a conversation with you because I have questions. I have many questions, and I know that a bunch of them, a veteran like you, will know how to fix it or know the answers to them. And a lot of them are real simple newbie questions that I'm sure any streamer can answer, and some of them are art specific, but some of them are, and honestly, I think your RPG Maker is kind of in that creative category. So I'll put my black away, I'm putting my flesh away, and the next thing I'm using here is a Privateer Press P3 Flesh Wash, and that's this stuff here. And all I'm going to do with this is, very quickly, but yeah, appreciate the offer. I definitely, you get just spam calls? Yeah, I bet in the city you get a lot of that. We get a lot of political calls because of our first in the nation status, right? We're the first primary. So I'm just going to take this flesh wash and I'm going to put it over the whole figure. And it's going to kind of make the guy look a little like a zombie, but it's going to darken up the recesses. And this has got a little bit of red in it and a little bit of brown in it. And so now his face kind of looks a little different. I'm going to do that with all of these. And you're not really seeing that, are you? Yeah, you're seeing it fine. Okay. So I'm going to do each of these, and then after it dries, I'll go back and start doing eyes and stuff and making these guys look like humans. I always do the faces first because once they have a face, I can identify with them, and I kind of feel like, well, now that he's got a face, I've got to finish him because he's he's more human-like. And I like the faces are my favorite part. A lot of people dread doing the faces and the eyes, but I like it. Where to land RPG Maker, art stuff or just chatting? I've been hovering over the RPG Maker. part of it so far, so I picked up some awesome people. Yeah, it's creative for sure. I don't know if there are, like, there's a guy I watch who does 3D models. So he uses this product called Blender. It's a 3D modeling program, and he makes models for people to print on 3D printers of Dungeons and Dragons characters. And I think he's in the art section. And if you come to my channel occasionally, you might see me hosting him. He streams like on weekend mornings a lot. And I think anything creative like that is kind of art. I mean, it's kind of programming too, but there's no space for that. It's kind of gaming related. Does RPG Maker have one of those little tag buttons like miniature painting? Because if it does, you can find other people who do it and find out where they put theirs. You'll get more hits if you're where people expect you, even if it's not where you think you belong. Does that make sense? That's why I put this in art and not gaming, because that's where all the other miniature painters are, and I consider this more crafting or making. But making is part of the art. So here, I didn't want that wash to sit up on his bald head. I just want it in his eyes, so I pulled off his bald head. Need a little bit more. And a lot of people, if they're just doing rough and tumble, troops for a war game and not generals, they'll just stop at that and they'll call that done for the face. So, but these guys are the centerpiece of the army. They're going to be the most important figures on the table, so I'm going to give them a little extra, a little something something. There we go. So that looks pretty good. All right, so that wash is done. That's the Flesh Wash from Privateer Press P3. Super easy. And now the fun stuff starts. Now I get out the little tiny brushes and I start doing eyeballs. And for the whites of my eyes, I'm going to use a color I like called Silver Gray. It's a model color from Vallejo. So, and the bottle's all dirty. Last time I used this, I wasn't kind to myself. I left the nozzle all dirty. I'm going to put just the ever smallest dollop of that because 16 eyes aren't going to take any. And I'm going to start out just by filling each eye socket with a little white. And just to give you a scale for you guys that aren't into 28mm figures, here's my wedding ring. So these guys aren't that big, right? The body is as tall as my wedding ring. You can use my wedding ring as a hula hoop. So they are not big. So I was trying to think of something as a size comparison. I don't have like a dollar bill or a coin in my pocket, so the wedding ring will have to do. People who are into this hobby know the size of, well, this is the size of my thumb. That's another good comparison, right? So what I'm doing is I'm just going to put a little dollop on his eye socket. It's going to make him look like some kind of crazy zombie. I'll do that on each side. And I'm okay if this gets everywhere. I'm going to try not to get it too far out, but I got a plan. I have a plan for how we're going to deal with this. So, and this guy's eyes are kind of under his hat, so I'm going to, yeah, it's fine. If I got a helmet on a guy, like a soldier with a helmet and a brim, and you can't see his eyes when the figure's on the table, I cheat. I throw some eyebrows on him and I call him done. But these guys, I think I can see all of their eyes, so we'll paint them. Again, I have gotten paint everywhere, and that is okay. This process is going to be forgiving with that. So this eye is underneath his hat, so he's a one-eyed Charlie. And this guy, he doesn't have any hat, so his eyes are going to be really visible. So I'm going to do an extra special job on his in the finishing stages. Right now, I'm just trying to establish the white in the eye. What I'm going to leave for this is going to be the whites in the corners of the eyes. If you look at a person, you don't see as much white as you think. you see mostly the color of the eye. The white is in the corners, and when I'm done with this, that's where the white will be in these eyes. But it's easier for me to just put it all in now in a big block. And my brush just went dry and the tip frayed out a little bit, so I'm going to try that again. So I'm just going to fill it in. So I'm just filling this whole eye socket. So it kind of looks like a bandit. This guy's got a nice subdued eye socket. It's all underneath a nice little eyelid. He's going to have some pretty eyes. Nice and small and scale-like. So the sculpting on these figures I'm really happy with. They're pretty nice. And a lot of figures you get, once they've cast a bunch of them in the mold, they get rough. These are in pretty good shape. The figures came pretty clean to me. So, might be because it's a specialty pack. This is these generals are the personalities, so every person only needs one pack of them in their army, in theory. So that you might need hundreds and hundreds of troops, but only one of each general. There we go. So, last one for the raccoon or the zombie treatment, filling up the eye sockets. Then we'll go back around and do the next step. There we go. Sounds good. Okay. Another thing is if you walk down the city in New York City and you look at someone half a block away, you don't really see the color of their eye. You just see that they have an eye. So the next step is I'm going to paint all of the irises and the pupils all together. And they're all going to have black irises and black pupils. I'm going to do my best to make this not too much of a mess. I'm going to try to make it mostly in the center, not make them cross-eyed. But I'm going to put it a little bit bigger. Now you see there's just a tiny bit of that white left. There we go. He looks like he's looking pretty much forward. I'll move on. This step here, I like to have the paint nice and thin and only a tiny bit on the brush so that it goes right where I want it and flows and everything. This eye under here is going to be tricky. Need a little more paint. There we go. Nice. Just going down the road. Each one gets 2, except this guy, he gets 1. Not bad. Okay. Nice. So, just going down the line and hitting every eye I can. Blackening them up, trying to get them kind of looking forward. Best I can. I got a little on his nose there, but I'll fix that in a bit. I'll show you how I do that. Oh, that one was perfect. So why not go back and mess it up? Can't leave well enough alone. That's just the way I am. All right. Not bad. Not bad. All right. So now they've all got black and white. And this is where I get to decide what color hair they get. And I could make different ones with different hair, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go with mostly dark brown hair And the guys that are gray, I'm going to pick out who's going to be gray. This guy's going to be gray because he's bald. And this guy looks young. He's got a full head of hair. So he's going to be brown, 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 brown. So I'm going to pick, there's a guy with a beard in here. This guy is going to have gray hair. So gray hair, brown hair. So the gray hair, I'm going to start out with black. And when you have gray hair, when you have black hair and it goes gray, your eyebrows, at least when you're the age of these, these generals in your, 40s and early 50s, your eyebrows stay pretty black. So I'm going to go with black eyebrows on these guys and put the eyebrows in. There we go. So that hid the top of the top ugly top part of the eye, like that. So that's a pretty bushy eyebrow, but that's fine. He's got a unibrow. I can fix that up in a bit. When I do when I fix the nose, I'll fix his unibrow. And while I'm here, your sideburns, they get gray, but I want to get them in while I have this fine brush. And then I'll add some gray to them in a bit. So that's his sideburns. And I'll pretend he's only got a little bit of gray. So I'll, most likely I'll put the black in even on his hair and then put the gray over it so that you can see the black underneath. So I'm doing the tricky part of this while I have this silly little tiny brush in my hand. And then I'll come back and get a bigger brush to do the rest of his hair. And do the same thing on the other side. So, alright, so let's see here. Get his eyebrow. There we go, that's not bad. His eyebrow on this side. Nice. And a sideburn. Again, the sideburn's going to go gray, so I'll add some gray to it in a bit. But I want to get it around this ear. It's hard to get the ears to stay flesh colored, so this fine brush will help me with that. Same thing with this sideburn. So get it cranked in here. Nice. Okay, and he has got, I guess I thought it was a beard. I guess it's just big old lamb chop sideburns, no beard. So next thing I'm going to do is the brown. So I'm going to pick a nice brown hair color. This leather brown looks good, so we'll put some of that in the palette. And I'll put that on the other six. I need to thin this out a little bit. Need to thin it out a lot. There we go. Now it's thin. Clean my brush. I'm hard on my brushes. There we go. All right. Eyebrows and sideburns and hard stuff on the other six. So not bad. Not bad. I'll do this hair as it goes under his hat for the same reason. It's easier with a small brush. So, and I guess these long sideburns were the style in France because they all have them. But they're fun to paint. So, where's his hair? I'm going to do a sideburn on this side. I didn't sculpt one in. I don't feel confident enough to put one in on my own. I'm going to assume the sideburn and the hair kind of came over the sideburn. That's what I'm going to assume. I'm gonna use a bigger brush to get that hair in the back. And this is the guy with only one eye, so we're done with him. And this guy's nice. He's got a tall forehead. I'm going to try to not to take all of it up with eyebrow. I'm going to try to keep the eyebrow just on the socket and just high into the eye. Yeah, that's not bad. They're not balanced though. This one needs to be a little taller. Good. Happy with that. Part of this miniature stuff is just accepting what you can do and live with, and then not worry about what you can't do and what you can't accomplish, and figure out what's within your power. And if I do something that's not as good as I can do, then I get disappointed and I try to do better. If I do something I'm like, well, that seems to be the limit of my capabilities right now, then I get satisfied. These figures, this paint dries fairly fast. Like, I went back and did the black over that white right away. It all depends on how thick of a coat. These are acrylics, they're water-based. And so this figure will dry under an hour for sure. It would be all dried at the thickness I put in. It's possible that it'll be dry to the touch quicker than that. And then it'll cure over a couple hours and get even better. And I just made a mistake I'm gonna have to fix. But yeah, it's relatively fast. And then what I do is, to protect it, because the paint is very, very thin, it's not very durable, is I'll spray them with a flat lacquer. And that flat lacquer is a protectant that will basically seal all the paint on and keep it from being too easy to smudge off. And I'll put a couple coats of that, and the lacquer dries super fast, like 10 minutes. So I got a little bit of paint on his cheek I didn't want, and so I'm just going back to fix that while I see it. And it ruined the wash, but I think I can fix that later. So, well, Dragoon, if you want to get into Warhammer, this miniature painting key on Twitch has got hundreds of great miniature Warhammer miniature painters. And I've listed some of my favorites I auto-host on my channel. So if you come to my channel, the people that my channel auto-host are people that I respect as painters, that their work is good. The models are expensive for Warhammer. The paint, if you're willing to paint them yourself, you don't have to spend thousands of dollars on paint. A good paint set with all the colors you need to do Warhammer, a good complete starter paint set is $100, and there are entry-level paint sets for $35 that have enough for you to wet your feet and see if you like it. But yeah, the Warhammer models, you have to buy their brand of models, and that can get a little pricey, but it's a fun game. It was one of the most popular miniature games in the world, so people like it. Yeah, I've learned a lot of my painting techniques, even though, look at that, I just messed that up. I've learned a lot of painting techniques from the Warhammer painters on Twitch here. I've been painting for 30 years, and I still learn every day from other people painting on stream. There's no limit to how much you can learn in this hobby. And honestly, some of the Warhammer people, there's a lot of painting contests associated with that game too. You don't have to be into that, but a lot of the world's best painters paint Warhammer because it's a popular thing. And there's a lot of great painters that paint historicals too, don't get me wrong. But the ones you're going to find on Twitch are going to be the younger people painting Warhammer. So I highly recommend, if you're into it, watch some Twitch streams, watch some YouTube videos. There's a bunch of them that I like that are really good. The Twitch streams are catch as catch can. There's not like you can go saying, hey, how to paint my Warhammer, but there's some great introductory videos from a guy named Goobertown Hobbies. He does goblins for Warhammer, I believe. There's a bunch of stuff on that on his channel. And there is a ton of how to get started in painting Warhammer miniature content out there. So if it's something you're interested in, you'll be fine. And in fact, off stream, I'd be happy to talk to you and encourage you and give you whatever other information you want. But yeah, can't hurt to watch some YouTube, watch some Twitch. It's a great way to learn if Warhammer's for you. I can tell you that a lot of people love it. In New York City, you will not have trouble getting access to games and gamers and places that play it. You're going to have your pick of the litter. So if you don't like one of them, just get on a subway and go burrow over, and I'm sure there's another one. So I envy you for that. I mean, I live up here in the country, and we've got a really good gaming group. And when they're doing something I want to do, great, and they're pretty willing to try something that I'm into. But in the city, you can go to wherever they're playing whatever it is you want that day. You don't have to wait for a group to spin up and get going. There's someone in the city playing what you want to play. I promise you. So. But yeah, it's a good game. It's a popular game. I've played Warhammer Ancients Battles, which uses the Warhammer combat system. I don't know if they still make that. They had an English Civil War Warhammer rule set that I've played, and so they dabbled in going into the historical realms, but their money is in the the Warhammer world. Their fantasy sci-fi products. And so that's where they've concentrated their efforts lately. So I'm trying to see where this guy's sideburns are, and it looks like they're there. I'm going to paint them right there. So this guy's eyebrow goes right up to his hat, which makes my life easy. I can just fill it in, just paint the eyebrow right to the hat. That should be fine. And you don't have to paint to any specific level. I mean, when you learn Warhammer, you can use the unpainted models on your kitchen table. If you go to a store, some stores will have requirements that you have to have your models painted to a certain level. It's possible that Games Workshop, I think they're responsible for Warhammer. I think they have a minimum standard for participating in tournaments of paint. You have to have so many colors, and it has to be based and all that. But you can, as you're learning the game system, you can certainly work your way up. If you're gaming with friends. It's a different environment. There we go. So I put his eyebrows on, and that has tied the eye together a little bit. So, hey, I missed his eyes. What happened here? So here's an answer to Chaos's question. How quickly does the paint dry? Well, I'm going to paint the blacks of these eyes, and I'm going to paint the brown right over it. And if I just blow on it a couple of seconds, this black is going to be so thin it'll be close enough that I probably can get away with it. The paint won't be totally dry, but it'll be dry enough that I can paint around it. So I was probably yakking at you guys, and you're probably looking at me and say, hey, you missed a figure. But I can't hear you through the computer. There we go. All right, and go back into the brown. And I still have to go back and paint the big parts of the hair on some of these models. But, so this guy, yeah, this guy's pretty barrel chested. He's buff. I thought he might be wearing a breastplate, but they gave him a nice big barreled chest. He's a big dude. So believe it or not, those eyebrows are harder than the eyes. And now I'm just going to go back and fill in the blanks where I didn't do all the hair. I'm going to start with the brown, then I'm going to go do the black. And I got a trick for the black I'll show you. So I'm back to my big brush, big old base coating brush, and I'm going to go back through the figures. I need to thin this paint a little bit more. It's thickened up while I was yakking. So, another thing you can do, Dragoon, if you're thinking about getting into the hobby is find someone around that's doing it. Find the local group and, You might find that if you don't want to paint the models, maybe someone in that group has an extra army that they're willing to sell. Maybe they painted it and they're not as happy with it as their new figures, and they're looking to sell it for a bargain. You can buy, if you find a local gaming group, I mean, if you try to buy armies off of eBay or something, they're going to go to the highest bidder, and they're going to be crazy expensive, and they're going to go for whatever the commodity price is, whatever they're worth. But if you find a local group and you find someone who's looking for a gaming partner, I'm not saying that you're going to get a steal, but you might get a more fair price. I think that's a great way to say it. And you won't have to pay shipping. And, you know, if it's someone in the store, you might say, well, gee, I don't even know how this army plays. They might, you know, play a game or two with you. You can see if the game seems fun, because I know that different armies in that game system, you know, have different strengths and weaknesses and play to certain people's play styles. You know, if you're an aggressive player, you might want to gain an army that rewards aggressive play. If you're a conservative player, you might want to pick an army that is more defensive-minded. I also know that with Games Workshop, every year or so, they change what things cost in points in the game, and you buy your armies with points. And armies go out of fashion, and someone might want to sell an army that's gone out of fashion because it's not the best tournament army. But if you're playing for fun, who cares? And you might get a deal because it's not the best tournament army, but you know, someone wants to paint up whatever the killer tournament army is. That's Warhammer is mostly 1v1, and so it's mostly in competitive 1v1 format. And unfortunately, you know, what army is the most powerful is a thing in that environment, and so you'll bump into people who only care about how powerful an army is, and they might want to sell at a discount an army that has lost some power because it's been adjusted. It's been nerfed, as they say. You know how nerfs work, right? You play online games, same thing. So they definitely nerf the factions in Warhammer occasionally. So I'm going light here, and I've got a Zenithal Prime here, and the hair is actually taking the Zenithal and showing me some highlights, and I'm going to leave that thin and just let the Zenithal do its work there. I'm happy with that. Actually, I'm really excited about that. That's working. All right, so he's looking good. First pass on him is good. He has hair now. So they have hair, they have hair. I think I did this guy when I did, yeah, he had so little showing that I did it with the fine brush. Same thing here, I got impatient. I pretended that fine brush was a big brush. This guy needs some though. Alrighty. But yeah, some people are into the gaming portion, some people are into the painting. I'm into both. So I find this is my happy time, right? I get down here, I turn my brain off, and I do project management, personnel management, computer programming during the day. And this, I can turn all that part of my brain off and just enjoy painting the figures and thinking about the history. So for me, this is a Zen-like thing. I painted his hair too with a small brush, but I painted over his ear. So he needs an ear. All right, those two are black. So I'm going to get my fine brush out and put his ear back on because he's not Picasso. And I want him to have his ear. So I'm going to grab that flesh color again. And I need some of this flesh color anyways. I'm putting a little more than I need for this ear there because I'm going to do something with it in a second. So this here is fine. It stayed, it stayed proud. I'm actually I'll highlight it while I'm here so it looks like a proper ear. But this ear here, behind his hand, yeah, you can't really see it too much, but I'm gonna put his ear back because he needs it. There we go. I want a little bit more thinning on this paint. I left the paint thick because I thought I could sit it on the surface and not hit the brown, but I'm going to actually have to go in here and put it in thin so it'll flow. I'll go in and put some brown back on. I'm not skilled enough to do just the ear. I thought I was, but it's hiding behind his arm, which is ruining my angle. All right, so the ear's back on, and I'll give it a blow. And then I'm going to go back in here with this brown put the hair back where I lost it. All right, so that looks good. Right there. Okay, so now he's got an ear again. He's no longer Pablo Picasso. So that's good. All right. So the black hair with the big brush, I saved that for last because I'm going to do something with the black hair. I'm going to do the black hair and I'm going to do their hats while I get the black out. So take the black back out. Here's where I'm regretting not having my wet palette out, because I had some more black paint here that would have stayed wet if I'd had it on the wet palette. So that was my bad. So I'm going to start with this guy who has no hat but black hair. I'm going to try to be careful not to throw black paint all over the zenith elsewhere on him. And I'm going to try to leave his ear available. Which I've mostly done. There's a little hair right there. And thin that black a little bit more. So I'm surprised you guys haven't seen or heard from Miss AJ's Wargaming. She usually stops in and checks in the stream. But I think that she's been busy with canning her turkey broth and has forgotten about me. Forgotten about me, and the ear's there. So this is an ear, this is hair. That's his ear. She's forgotten about me. But she'll come in and let me know when it's time to walk the dog or something, I'm sure. And that's pretty good. So he's going to get gray hair, and this is the undercoating for the gray hair. I'm going to do the gray hair with a dry brush in a little bit. He has black hair, and I'm just going to fill that in now. I already did the hard part around the face. So I'm just going to try to stay off the collar a little bit, although. All right, and he has a hat, so in we go for hat time. And this is why I have the big brush out. And there it goes. And the other things on these hats are all gold and silver trim, and that's going to cover over the black just fine, so I don't have to worry too much about painting over them. You know, some things you do not want to paint over with black because it will make a mess, and black is hard to cover over, which is why these guys have a dusting of white on them. And but in this case, gold covers over, especially the gold I'm going to use on these guys. It's a really nice quality paint. So there, now he looks like he has a face. So he's somebody now. Not bad. And I can feel like he's got it going on. So this is a colonel. He doesn't have the lace on his hat. So I'm going to make sure I put a nice coat of black on the edge of his hat, because when the figures get handled, sometimes that's the part that takes the abuse. And I'm going to do all the hats. So let's get them done. So nice. Just checking the stream, making sure its health was good. Making sure I didn't go dark on you guys. It's hard to know when you're not playing a game. It's hard to know when your internet goes out. Sometimes my view of the stream on my second tablet will freeze, and sometimes it won't. You know, I'll just lose enough bandwidth out to screw up the stream, but the in will be okay. So I like to check every once in a while just to make sure it's still working. All right, that's pretty good. I didn't put any paint on that brush. That was weird. I'm going to take 1 second and clean that black pot out of my palette because it is acting badly. The old paint and the new paint are giving each other fits. So we'll get some fresh. There we go. And we'll water that down nicely. Because it's black, you can take it. Get it nice and thin. Yeah, that's better. Now I think this will be a lot more, yeah, that behaves now. It was misbehaving on me. It had chunks in it and stuff. I'm going to get this hat right there, just a little better. There we go. I think that'll do. No hat. Done. I just pick each one up in the assembly line. I'm not even looking at them. Everything that happens down there on the table is kind of all on autopilot. I'm really concentrating on what's happening up here in my hands. So, and I guess I don't need the leather brown on my palette anymore. I just have the black. So, I don't really glopped it on the brush here, but there's a lot of detail there I wanted to just fill, and then I'll pull it out with the brush. I got a few friends that are painters that I know in person that I really respect, and I'm hoping that by having these videos they can look at my painting, and when next time they see me they can give me some tips. Like I said, you always want to learn. If you're not learning, I don't know why you're doing it really. So there. So the black on his head is done. The hats will come alive when I do these guys have all this gold, and they'll come alive when I do that. That's going to be late in the figure, but right now I'm just setting the groundwork for it with the black underneath. I hear my dog down there, Miss Lola. So when my real streaming gear comes up, I'm hoping to eventually get a face cam and a Lola cam. Face cam that I could swing around and show Lola on when she comes to visit. Because she's a cutie. You guys will love her. She'll be more popular on the stream than me. Alright, that looks good. Fill that in. So I haven't decided what kind of music I'm going to play on my stream. If when I get set up, music is so polarizing for people. I'm torn. Also, if you use copyrighted music, you can't put your videos on YouTube later. So I don't know. What do you think about Music Chaos? If you're still hanging around here, I don't know if you're still here. Play whatever you want. It's for me, right? Yeah. Well. There's a couple streamers that I admire their painting a lot, but I can only watch about 25 minutes of their stream because they listen to, very, very hardcore metal music, and I only have a certain level of tolerance for that. And I want to hear them talk, so I can't just mute the stream. So I watch as much of them as I can, and then I watch another person. I don't want to be that guy, although my tastes are old fart music, right? I like stuff from the 80s and 70s and 60s, so, classic style rock. Hey, I don't have to do anything with him. He doesn't have a hat. A couple of the channels I have non-copyrighted music, and some of it isn't bad. I heard one of the streamers that I really admire, and what he does is he uses non-copyrighted music for a while, but he says that if you only like certain genres of it, it gets repetitive because there's not a ton of it. But yeah, I might explore that. Because when I first start out, of course, I won't be sick of it yet because I wouldn't have heard it for hundreds and hundreds of repeats. So yeah, I'll give that a try. I know that's definitely an option. So thank you for suggesting that. Appreciate it. Now you do YouTube videos, so you have to be conscious of that for yours too, don't you? But you just use the in-game audio mostly, don't you? Yeah, what do you do for RPG Maker? You're just talking, you don't really feel like music is needed for that? Oh, okay. SoundCloud random artists, yeah. But you also have the luxury of you don't YouTube the RPG Maker stuff, so it's only for the stream. And it's possible in the future. I mean, I'm not sure what the value is of rebroadcasting these streams. I've done a few of them now because it's new to me and I'm excited about it. But maybe the other people that look at my other content, my blog and my YouTube, maybe they don't care about rebroadcast of streams. I've watched some rebroadcasts of some of my favorite streamers, but I've always watched them through Twitch because they're on Twitch for a while, right? And typically, I don't know if any of the streamers I like where I'd want to go watch a 3-month-old stream. So maybe I'm worrying about nothing. So now I've got eyes and eyebrows, but the underside of the eyes, let me pick a guy without a hat on so you can see. The underside of the eyes are still a mess, and they're droopy. And he looks sad, and some of them, they'll just look wrong. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to take this flesh color, and I'm going to put it here. I had some. And I'm going to mix in some brown into it, because the underside of everybody's eye is darker than the top side, right? So I'm going to grab some water and just a touch of brown. I'm going to mix me up a dark flesh color. So here we go. That's good. The bags under their eyes right there. I made a mess of that. All right, and then I'm going to grab my little brush again, and I'm going to go right back into it. There we go. There's some right there. That's enough. And I'm going to do the bags under their eyes, this dark flesh color. And that's going to finish the look. Some of them aren't going to need much. That guy's eye was fine on that side. There we go. And that's all I need for him. I'm going to put a little more water in this. This is a little thick, so I'm going to just thin that out a little bit. You guys are probably seeing the top of my head a lot. I like to get close to the palette. And sorry about that. Yeah, and honestly, Chaos, this is not for money either. This is just to have someone to chat to while I'm painting. So I don't ever intend on making this a big deal. But the problem is if the sound goes on your video, no one wants to watch it, and so it's not entertaining anymore. It's really of no value. So I'm also doing his nose because there was some white on his nose, and I am going to come back here and put some highlights on the face, and the nose is one of the places that'll get the highlights. So that's just the first coat on the nose. Anywhere where that eye smears up onto the top of the bridge of the nose, I said earlier I'd fix it. Well, this is the start of fixing it. So this eye is pretty much good. It's just the nose that's a little messed up there. And yeah, he's fine. I did a pretty good job with him. That eye's fine. This one has got way too much on the cheek, so we'll close his eyes up. Nice. Now he looks like a person instead of a zombie. So that's fine. And again, this is one where it's not too bad on the face, but his it's all up on his nose, so we will separate his nose a little bit and fix that. Did I do this one? I didn't do this one yet. It's one of those where normally when I'm not doing this on stream, I pull each figure aside, but then they'll be out of frame. Actually, I could do that. I could still do that. There. Now I won't lose track of my assembly line. So again, the nose, and this guy had the unibrow, so we're going to fix his unibrow. There we go. That's fixed. Get that paint off his nose and then underneath his eye. There we go. He's looking fine. And then this one, again, the same thing. A little close to the eye, and then boom. Nice. And this guy just has a tiny bit right there in the corner of his eye that needs to be fixed. He also has a unibrow that needs to go, so we'll fix that. And everything is a little too big there. On this side, we will, yeah, all on the bridge of the nose, that's got to go. Underneath his eye needs to be seriously cleaned up. And the corner of his eye is also on the nose. Okay. Same deal. Close those eyes up a little bit. All right, so now they all have nice dark faces, and now we lighten them up. And we're going to use this color, which is Light Skin from Scale Color. We're going to give it its own home. Bring the big brush out to stir it up again, give it a little bit of fluid. And this is going to be a pretty stark contrast to this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a little bit of that and just desaturate it a tiny bit. There we go. Actually, that's too much. So we want to put a little bit more on. I took a little bit too much dark on it. So I want a light color. I just didn't want it to be a different shade. So mix this up. There we go. So it's a lighter color of that. And I'm just putting a little water in it now. There we go. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go around these models and pick out stuff that the sun would hit. So the top of his nose for sure. And that gives us a chance to fix his unibrow a little bit more. So I picked the top of his nose up, a little bit on his chin, and I like to do his cheeks. So his cheeks here. All right? And this gives a highlight to that area that we just put dark. So he's got the bag under his eyes, but he doesn't have the bag on his cheeks. And in the case of this guy, I'm gonna also do a little forehead. Use your forehead. Give him a little forehead action. There we go. So, there we go. Not bad. Next one. So, bridge of the nose. His nose is kind of funky. It's like the figure got dropped or something. So I'm going to try to highlight that and make him look less pig-nosed. He doesn't really have a pronounced cheekbone, so I'm going to draw one in. This side has a cheekbone, so I can hit it, and a chin. And this looks cartoonish, but at a distance, it'll look right. And I'll probably, based on how much I darken this, I'm probably going to go one tone higher and do one more highlighting that's going to be super highlights just in certain places. He doesn't have much cheekbone hiding around those lamb chops, so this guy gets a little more subtle treatment. And I missed this side of his nose. So there we go. This gets pretty quick as you do it. As the further down the face process you get, the easier it gets. His cheekbones are way up on this guy. Kind of a jawline. I'm going to do his jawline because he's got a pronounced jaw. That cheekbone, chin, and then this cheekbone's in the shadow, so I'm going to leave it alone. I'm not going to give it a highlight because the sun's not hitting it. It's underneath his hat. This guy has got, his whole face is up out in the sun. Get that cheekbone, both sides, chin, and he's got kind of scowling lips, and there's another guy's yelling, so at some point I'm going to come back in here and put some mouth color in these guys, give them some mouth, and because some of them need it. This guy's got a big bald head, so I'm gonna hit the bald pad of it here, and I'm gonna actually put a tiny bit of water on my brush, and I'm gonna blend this edge of this out so it looks a little more natural and doesn't look like I just put a target on his head. There we go, that's a little more natural. And then when I do the next highlight, I'll do the same thing. Nice cheek. I'm going to go over his nose again. I want to get the old color. I didn't get his unibrow very good. And that's too much, so I'm going to go in and, now that I fixed it, actually fix the eyebrows. There we go. That looks a little funky, but I'm going to tie it all in a second here. So there we go. Spread that out a little bit like that. There we go. Now it's tied in. That's tied in. Nice. All right. And there we go. This is the guy with the mouth. So he's got a lot less cheek exposed, and his chin is under his mouth, so most of his chin's going to go away when he do his mouth. And his ear is kind of hiding in here, so I'm going to give his ear a little highlight because it's in the sun. All right. And then the last level is Mojave White. I'm going to mix that right into there and give us a lighter version of this. This is going to be super highlight, and we're going to be very sparing with this. This is going to be basically the tip of the nose and reinforcing that nose shadow. and not much else. There we go. So this will be super fast. Nice. Good. Fine. And not bad. It's a little heavy-handed on that guy. He's tricky though. Nice. Okay. So this is the guy that has a funky looking nose. It's almost like the figure got dropped. So I'm going to put extra highlighting on his nose to make it look like he has a nose. There we go. Better. All right, the last step will be to give them some mouths, and this is tricky because we don't want them to look like they're 16-year-old girls made up to go to prom. But we do want them to look like they have a mouth. So what we want is, we don't actually want, something like this, some big red. We want a peach color, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually use this Indian shadow, which is a very, very dark skin tone shadow, and I'm going to put an ever so tiny amount of it in here until it brings it up. That's too much, so I'm gonna mix some of that with that right there. So there we go. So it looks like pink flesh, not red lips. More natural. And so not all of these are going to get a mouth, but most of them are going to get something here. Actually, I'm thinking I'm liking this pink even more now that I see it on the figure. So there we go. Perfect. And there we go. His mouth is actually pretty good. The red wash went in there pretty good. I might actually just drop red wash in each of their lips. I've got some right there. There we go. Ooh, got the wrong stuff there. Actually, I like that okay though. I grabbed some of this by mistake and it actually looked good, so I'm going to darken this up even more. I'll go back. Yeah, that pink disappears. We want it to be a little redder. What I don't want is pink. I want, dark red. There we go. Good. And put on each. Perfect. This guy's got his mouth a little open. This is the guy that's yelling. So I'm going to take this darkest color and put that inside his mouth where the shadow is. Dry off my brush, get that paint out of there. And then take this lighter color and do his lips. Pretty good. I'm going to grab some plain flesh and define that mouth a little better because he's kind of it's kind of muddy in there because the wash came in here. So I'm gonna, there we go, that's better. I just want to give him a jawline. That's good. And then, yeah, I like that. So now we've got 8 guys with black hats, black boots, and faces. And that's pretty good. So the next step is I'm going to start working on the coats. And before I do that, I'm going to take a 1-minute break. Go upstairs to get a refill, so I will be right back. So. Lola's on the couch. All right, I'm back. My dog decided to take over my couch in my man cave. So she's officially become a couch potato. And I let her run amok down here because it's man world. So we got 3-story house, and the ground floor and the second floor are Ladyland, and then the basement is Manland. So that's a proper division, right? She gets 2 floors, I get 1. That's fair. Nothing wrong with that. Okay, now that I had a chance to think about this, I'm going to take a look at these, and I think I'm going to put a little bit more of this flesh wash just on the mouths. And the more I think of it, the more I like it. I'm a little suspect of that puddle right there, but I think if I just put it up on top of it and only take the top stuff, will be okay. And so what I'm going to try to do is get this just where it belongs, which is right there. Yeah, darken that up a little bit. And that's fine. I don't think I want this reddish tone anywhere else, in his mouth for sure. And when that dries, it'll look good. Yeah, I agree, Dragoon. It'd be nice if you could get your hobbies to be financially neutral, but even that's tough. They tend to spend money. Dragoon's comment was, hobby rarely makes you money. I think, you know, becoming a money-making hobby person is kind of like writing a best-selling book or getting a hit record. You know, people do it, but most of us regular people don't. So, and that's probably where I am with this. I'm already down here painting these toy soldiers anyways. Figures if I stream it, I can talk to people while I do. That's a little more than I wanted to get in there, so I'm going to get that out of there. It's good. Very, very prophetic, Dragoon, very prophetic. Nice. That's more than I wanted. I don't really want it above his lips, I just want it on the lips. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is coats, and so I need to pick a nice dark blue and a light blue and a shadow color. And I've got this Prussian blue, which I think is the medium blue that I want to use for the coats. And to lighten it up, I've got this heavy blue too, which isn't too bad. It's kind of the same color as Prussian blue, this heavy blue. It's just more pigment. And as a shadow, I'm going to mix in some deep sea blue from Scale Color. So that's going to be my shadow color, or my base tone. And to lighten up, I think I'll just lighten up the Prussian blue. So that's going to be my triplet. And to start, I think the easiest thing for me to do is to get the shadow color mostly on these. I'm looking at them and seeing if maybe a thinned, maybe a thin version of that will pull out the zenithal and give me what I want. I'm going to try it on a sample figure. I should have sample figure already done before I do 8 of these, but I'm kind of shooting from the hip here. So here's my dark blue. That's super dark, so I actually am going to 50-50 it with my medium color because that's too much. There we go. And then that'll make this a good highlight color, or a good neutral color. Let's see how that goes. That is still super dark. I'm just comparing that to the dark in here, and way too dark. So mistakes were made. I'll take half of that out of there and add some more Prussian blue. And this will probably be fine. I have to admit, I don't have a ton of blues in my palette. I'm a little blue deficient. I haven't done a ton of French, so yeah, it's better. I like that fine. So those are the 2 colors I'm using. I'm going to thin this out a little bit more. I'm going to try to best I can get it only where I want it. Because there's a lot of lace and stuff in here that are going to be brighter colors. So I'm not too worried about anything that's going to be gold, but anything that's going to be red, I want to leave the white color. There we go. That's a sash. There's a tiny bit in there. Just going to dunk it in there. That may be the only time I go into that area. This looks good. And again, this sash I'm leaving alone because I'm expecting that that'll be hard color to cover. And the horse, the field of the horse blanket is also going to be blue, so I'm going to get that while I'm here. And the pants are white, so I'm going to stay off of those as best I can. I'll paint this lace. I don't think I can avoid it. I think it's either, I think it's probably gold, so I'll go back over with black underneath it. Or maybe this will just be, maybe this will be dark enough I can just go gold right over the blue. I found a hat I missed. Right there. That hat right there needs to be painted. Whoops. I remember looking at him and saying, he hasn't got a hat. And I only looked on his head. Nobody caught it. A hobby can turn into a job. Yeah, actually, I used to sell model airplanes. I flew radio controlled gliders, and I started making kits of them. And that definitely took some of the fun out of it because it made it a job. And I've had some commitments in MMOs that have been a little too heavy for me and made it job-like, that have taken the fun out of it. So, you know, that's when you take a step back and you say, you know what, I'm not doing this anymore. And so I've had to step back on some of those commitments, then come back to them when I feel motivated, you know. That looks good. That looks good. Okay. So I am very apt to forget this hat again. Oh, and while I have the black paint and it's still semi-wet, I'm gonna paint the hat. One takes a second. Oops, that's a little more on my brush than I really cared to have. Be a little careful here around the top so I don't get black everywhere. Just where I want it. There we go. Fixing my mistake. It's kind of his hand there, so I'm not going to paint his hand. Leave that gray. There we go. Mistake fixed. All right, back to the blue. One blue coat, base coat down. So you plan on streaming tonight, Chaos? You gonna do some more RPG Maker? It's not, it's Monday night, so it's not a raid night for you guys. I think I've got one I gotta go to tonight, though. Nice. Well, I will try to send some folks your way. I mean, not that I have very many followers, but gotta start somewhere. Gotta start being part of the community, right? So I found a spot on this figure when I cleaned them that I missed. There's a little tiny piece right there of flash that I didn't clean when I cleaned that figure. Sorry about the blowing in your ear, but I didn't want that to stay there while I was painting. Huh. There's Miss AJ's Wargaming. Everybody can say hi to my wife, Miss AJ's Wargaming. Or for you guys who know me from the online gaming crew, Mrs. Chugs. She just told me that Hammy, who's our cat Sam, we call him Hammy because he likes any kind of ham. So Hammy's coming down to visit. He's a good old boy. He's getting on in years. He's gaining a little weight, but I'm gonna try not to fat shame too bad. But he's a good old boy. Hello, sweetheart. I got to keep remembering on the streaming thing not to use people's real names. It's safer that way, right, Chaos? So, well, that set in there just the way I wanted it. Got lucky. Kind of used the big brush and tossed it in there. It just happened to lay down nice. Oh, all right. I got the full crew of animals. Got the dog and both cats now in the basement. It's fine, honey. Got the message. Thank you. So we don't normally leave the basement door open, which is why Miss AJ's Wargaming is telling me that they're down here, so I don't lock them in here. I'll do a head count when I head up tonight. Alright, another coat done. So I'm hoping tonight to get the coats, first coat down. Maybe I'll do a highlight coat, and that might be enough for one session on the stream. Painting on the stream is a little harder than painting normally, so a little more fatiguing. Not mentally, but physically, because I have to hold the miniature in the same place when I paint, and that's not necessarily the way I hold it when I paint everything. I mean, I picked a comfortable position, a position I use a lot, but when my back starts to go, I will stick the miniature in other positions, and I can't do that and have you guys see it. So I tend to paint a little more cramped up. Right, crouched up and bent over a little bit, which is fine for a little bit, till it isn't. So, but I'll be happy if I get the faces of these guys done and two shades on the coats. That'll be pretty nice. And I can do some glazing after it all dries to blend the colors. I'll be happy. Again, I'm not worried about that strap because it's going to be a different color. In fact, it's better if I don't paint that at all, but I got a little paint on there. Alright, and then make sure I do I'm just checking. This guy is a figure. He doesn't have a horse blanket glued to him because it's on the horse, but this guy does, so I'm going to do the horse furniture, blanket rather, and while I'm here. Actually, I'm glad I did that because I didn't do his coattails. There it is. Looks good. And then more coattails here. Not his pants because they're supposed to be white. I'll do those later. His little emblems here, which are reminiscent. Actually, it looks like there are pistols in there. They're pistol holders. I had to blow a little piece of terrain flocking off of there that floated on there. You can see the end of the pistol hanging out right there. I think that's what that is. Now that's saddle, so I don't paint that. There we go. And get that out of my way. It got a little thick on me. All of a sudden at the end that paint gelled up. So I'm gonna come back here and take a little of this off. Hit some of the detail. Alright, so he looks good. You got to see Mimi now. When I get the full stream set up, Dragoon, I'll give you. I'll have a face cam that I can point at pets. If I move this camera now, the way I've got it rigged up with my phone, that's the end of the stream. I'll never get it set back up again. So I will. I'll tell you what. Miss AJ's Wargaming will post some pet photos to your Discord, and in the future we'll get the pets on stream. Because we got a house full of cute ones, so I'm sure that Miss AG's Wargaming has got some photos ready available. I know we got some of the dog because I've got some on my PC at work that are my backdrop, but I think she's got some of the whole family. It's fine. Miss AJ's Wargaming and I are no parent people, so we don't have any children. Our pets are our children. So somehow we both, in 2 marriages each, avoided it. So, not that there's anything wrong with that, we didn't do it. So, we got animals instead. So he's got a little gorget here, which is a little armored, not armored, but a little brass plate. And it's also got a chest panel on his shirt here. I'm painting blue now, but it probably needs a different color. And that is also something I just painted that probably is a different color. I'll get the blue down now, I can always paint over it. If I absolutely have to. Prefer not to, but it is what it is. Okay. So, well, this is the other guy that doesn't have a saddle blanket, so those two from a different manufacturer. The rest of these guys will have saddle blankets and pistols, like this guy. I just heard Mrs. AJ's warm-up gaming upstairs. I think she's gathering the animals for a current picture for your Dragoon. So, you're in luck. You caught her ear. Get some baby pictures for you. That is definitely a horse blanket there. That is definitely a horse blanket here, but somewhere in here is white pants. But you know what? I think I'm gonna horse blanket it all, and then when I get deeper into it, if I think I want to put a little touch of white in there for the pants, I will. Most likely it's in enough shadow that it doesn't matter. It's out of sight. So, there we go. The underside of that stuff. Okay, so that's all the horse gear on this guy. Now for some coat. Shake my arm out a little bit. Got a cramp. Alrighty. Okay. Shoulder pad here. That's good. Not the pants. Not the face. Looks good. Whew. What are they thinking there? Grabbed way too much. This guy's got a coat. I could make that a big giant gray coat, but I think most of the officers have blue ones. I'm gonna go with blue. Some of the Austrian guys had nice big fat gray coats. They're kind of fun. Gives you a nice contrast when most of the rest of the other figures have blue or white in the case of the Austrians. Anytime you can add something visually different, if it's historically correct, you do that. It's one of the things the Warhammer guys can do is they can do something visually different because they wanna. And you know, there's a lot of, I mean, there's some rules as to what can be painted what, and some, you know, I guess rules are some conventions, but in a lot of cases, you know, there's some creative freedom that's allowed, which is one of the things that makes people like Warhammer. Is they can, especially as painters, freedom means you can do some cool stuff. Very cool stuff. So, here we go. So this turn back is going to be a different color, so I'm not going to paint that blue. It's going to be whatever the lining of the coat is. This is horse gear, so I can paint that. It's horse blanket or saddle, and if it's saddle, I'll go back and hit the brown. I think this collar is probably, I'm checking my reference figures here, and these guys are all laced up, so it doesn't really help. But I think that collar is not a facing color, so I think if it's not lace, I think it's blue. I'll do some research on that. French officers are not an area of strong expertise for me. So, there we go. Looking good. And his, I was going to put him away. I want to check his horse gear and his pistols. Need some blue. There we go. Right in there, behind this baton, is the top of the pistol case, so I'll give that. All right, he looks suitably first base coated. No highlights yet, but base coat's fine. Okay. Dos más. Look at all the lace on this guy. This is going to be a fun one to do. Try to be careful around that leg because that pant is white. It'll be a lot easier to paint it white if I don't paint it blue first. So, hey, thanks for the host, Chaos. Appreciate it. Interesting, the stream tools they give you, it tells you when people host you, you know, how many views, how many viewers and stuff came from it. It's fun to see. And I promise you, when you're new like me, hosts are a big source of new viewers. You know, that in searches, right? Because you don't exist yet, so people don't know you exist yet. So it makes a big difference. For sure. earlier. I just threw some paint on these boots to kill some time while I was waiting for the base coat on the faces to dry. And boy, I want to get into where that crevice is, but I'm going to end up getting some blue on that soon to be white pant leg when I do it, and I don't think there's any way I can avoid it. So, well, I'm happy. I minimized the damage there as best I could. Best I could. So, yeah, Cass, I'm gonna be offline on my stream later tonight when you're streaming, so I will return the favor. And the 7 people who follow my stream will go to you if they come to me. But later on it'll get better. This guy's got not much coat showing and a lot of lace. He is a fancy boy. Fancy pants guy. Also got a lot of collar. Not as much blue on this one. In his fancy tailored uniform, told the tailor to pump up the volume of the lace. And the tailor obliged. It's got cords here too. I'm going to paint blue over the cords so that when I highlight the cords it looks like there's cloth underneath them. Alright. Yep, it's back. We had a little hiccup on the internet. Sorry, thanks for letting me know. My my ghetto phone rig up here on my light above my head just decided it didn't want to talk to the internet for a second. I had to give it a kick. It's possible that the app I'm using, which you can see watermarked in the lower side, is got some kind of like 1 hour limit or something on it, and I have to reset it every. I don't know. It's not going to be an issue in a week when my gear comes in. I hope. I only have Wi-Fi in the basement. My router is upstairs, 2 floors up. I've got a fairly good Wi-Fi extender. Range extender, and just every once in a while it hiccups, and the phone is particularly intolerant of the hiccups, so especially when I'm streaming, and I guess I can't blame it. So, but I got a real streaming rig coming. I got a camera coming, lights coming, and a decent microphone, because I know you can't really hear me very well, so nothing expensive. I got the entry level for all that stuff, but at least it will be streaming gear and not a phone hanging on a light above my head. So I'm actually amazed that I'm doing this entire stream with just a cell phone. Technology is just blowing me away. Pretty incredible, right? So that guy's done. And I think I got just enough paint in here for one more. I should have mixed up a little more. I think I'm just making it. So, but yeah, I ordered some stream gear yesterday. It's going to take about 5 days to get here. I took advantage of the Cyber Monday deals, which was a big break. I saved myself about $60. So instead of spending $200 on stream gear, it cost me like $1.50. And hopefully that'll be enough to stream as much as I'm going to stream. I am watching, I'm reading the chat. Thank you for letting me know that it's back. I got a Logitech C930 camera, which I did a bunch of reviews. The C920 had good reviews. The C930, I guess, does some processing in the camera, and I'm going to be using a laptop down here. So I thought anything that takes the load off the laptop is good. And I'm not gaming, so I don't have to worry about it, about it being super powerful, but it's got to be powerful enough to do all the, graphic encoding and stuff, and having the camera do some of that is good. And then if I ever get a better camera for the minis, that C930 makes a good face cam too, because it has the built-in computer green screen effect without having a green screen behind you. So that'll be a nice feature down here in my room, because I don't really want to be rigging a green screen up down here. If I can avoid it. And I picked up an inexpensive parachute light. Not parachute light, but a box light. So the lighting here is a little harsh, it's a little glary, and I'll make that better. So I've been asking a few people that stream, and they think that camera is an acceptable choice for doing this kind of stuff, so hopefully it'll be okay. Here's hoping. So I'm going to just grab the last of this paint out of here. Get it on this last guy. Get underneath all the space places. All right, that looks pretty good. Just gonna paint everywhere I want it. Top of his collar could use a little more right there. Kind of blends into his hair back here. I think that's collar and lace right there. Yeah, that's collar and lace. There you go. So, just a few samples. They're starting to look kind of okay. They got faces, they got hats, got a base coat on the coats. I'm looking at the coats, and they need a highlight. And I think I'm going to wait to do that. I think that if it's okay with you guys, I'm going to call that enough for today. I'm going to end the stream now, take a little break, get some dinner, and I appreciate you guys coming and sitting in. And I'm gonna do a quick raid just because I can.